A woman has come forward and revealed what she found to be a very scary incident involving a bus driver in late 1979 when she was only 15 years old. I will cover this in this video, but first I'll update you on the court appearances of David McCorriston. The first of these was on the 23rd of February 2022, and the next day the Newcastle news section of the Daily Telegraph reported McCorriston brother admits to abuse of boys. Newcastle, Dan Proudman. David Allen McCorriston, the brother of serial rapist Warren McCorriston, has admitted to abusing 3 boys dating back more than 3 decades. David McCorriston, now aged 57, entered guilty pleas to 19 charges when he faced Newcastle local court on Wednesday. Prosecutors withdrew a further 20 charges, and McCorriston was remanded to appear in Newcastle District Court to start sentencing proceedings next month. Now, that has occurred. It was on the 24th of March. He appeared in court again. As I expected, I couldn't find anything in the media because I dare say little extra information was gleaned. It was just basically an introduction to his committal hearing. But anyway, I shall continue. Both McCorristons were arrested and charged by detectives from Strike Force Arapaima, established almost 3 years ago, to reinvestigate the suspicious disappearances of Robin Hickey and Amanda Robinson in 1979. Warren McCorriston remains a person of interest in the investigation following his convictions last year for the sexual assaults of 3 women dating back several decades. He was jailed for 8.5 years with a non-parole period of 4.5 years. Warren McCorriston has not been charged with any offences relating to the missing girls. So, any idea that he's guilty of any of these disappearances is purely alleged at this time, as the investigations are still ongoing. But anyway, I'll continue. His younger brother was arrested last June after Strike Force Arapaima detectives uncovered the offending while investigating the missing girls. There is no suggestion David McCorriston has any involvement in the disappearances of either woman, nor was he involved in his brother's offending. He pleaded guilty to the 19 counts when he briefly faced Newcastle local court on Wednesday. They included 8 counts of sexual intercourse with a person between 10 and 16 and relate to 3 male victims. David McCorriston was formally refused bail and will appear in Newcastle District Court on March 24, which I mentioned a little earlier. Okay, so this was also reported in the Newcastle Herald, which didn't really have much more to add other than that he appeared in court by an audio-visual link from Junee Correctional Centre, and also that the offences for which he's pleaded guilty occurred between 1987 and 2007 in Lake Macquarie and also on the mid-north coast. But going back to the same page in the Daily Telegraph, we have the article about the scary incident a woman had with a bus driver in late 1979 when she was only 15. I have mentioned in previous videos that bus stops appear to be a common factor in a number of disappearances around this time. So, this article says, woman speaks of chilling moment. Lake Macquarie, Dan Proudman, once again. Joanne Valeri was just a teenager on her way for dinner at her grandmother's when the bus driver failed to drop her off at her bus stop. Turned the lights off in the empty vehicle and told her something she has never forgotten. I am the driver who dropped those girls off, he told the then 15-year-old Joanne. I was really scared. Ms. Valeri, now aged 56, has spoken for the first time about the ordeal on the Charlestown to Swansea service about a year after local teenagers Robin Hickey and Amanda Robinson vanished in 1979. Robin, 18, was last seen at a bus stop on the Pacific Highway at Belmont North on April 7, and Amanda, 14, was last seen as she walked home after getting off a bus at Swansea a fortnight later. Police have long suspected both girls were murdered, with Strikeforce Arapaima being established almost 3 years to re-examine their disappearances. Investigators strongly believe both girls were the victim of a serial killer who was roaming parts of Newcastle and Lake Macquarie in the 1970s and early 1980s. They have interviewed the bus driver who had dropped Amanda off at Swansea after she caught the service from a school dance at Gateshead late on April 20. Now, this is the first time I've come across anything about the actual bus driver that dropped her off. I have not seen that before being reported at the time or in the last few years or at any other time when this has come up in the news. So I did mention, I think a few videos ago, whether she actually did get on the bus at Gateshead. So it does seem that since they spoke to the actual bus driver that she did get on the bus. Because then the next thing it says, he has been cleared of any involvement in the disappearances. So I dare say he's been thoroughly questioned and the investigators are satisfied. So it kind of seemed that if there was a bus driver involved, it was not that one. Because she did, it seemed, walk past the bowling club where there were 3 bus drivers who are known sex offenders. But anyway, I shall continue. There is also no concrete evidence Robin ever boarded a bus, even though she was last seen at the bus stop. She was planning on heading to a Belmont pub to meet up with friends and was known to have stopped hitchhiking after an incident interstate. However, detectives also suspect she may have been picked up by someone known to her. What is known is there were several bus drivers at a Scouts fundraiser at the former Swansea Workers Club, which was ending at the same time Amanda would have been walking past when she vanished. So those bus drivers would have been the Mattia brothers, who are currently going through court proceedings, and also George Cecil, which it now says. It included local bus driver and scout leader George Cecil, who was convicted of possessing horrific child abuse material and died in 2015. There were also at least 2 other bus drivers at that fundraiser who have since been convicted of child sex offences. So, might have been bus drivers at that thing, but that sort of negates the idea that the bus stops are an issue. So, anyway, well, at least in the case of Amanda, the bus stop wasn't really an issue. If she has been pretty much confirmed that the bus driver that dropped her off wasn't involved and that she continued on. But it still doesn't mean a bus stop or bus driver or something else was connected with any of the other disappearances. Or perhaps there is a connection with Amanda and the bus stop that isn't clear. But anyway, I shall go on. All were known to drive the route through the East Lakes area down to Swansea. None of the bus drivers have faced any charges relating to the Hickey and Robinson investigations. I remember it clearly, Ms. Valeri told the Newcastle News. I was only 15 and I was catching the bus down to Swansea Heads to my grandmother's house. I was the only one on the bus and the driver said to me, "Are you getting off here by yourself?" I told him my sister was supposed to pick me up and he said, "There is no one here." He turned the lights off inside the bus and said, "I was the one who dropped those girls off and I don't want to leave you here," and just kept driving. It was only when my sister saw the bus leave and the lights go off that she followed. I told him my sister was behind us and he let me out. Although she grew up in Lake Macquarie, Ms. Valeri now lives in rural New South Wales and was unaware of the latest investigation until recently. She will be giving a statement to Strikeforce Arapaima detectives. Okay, so seems from this that, as I've said, the bus driver for the bus that dropped Amanda off has been identified and has been cleared of any involvement. So it seems pretty much confirmed that yes, she did definitely get on the bus at Swansea and she got off the bus at she got on the bus at Gateshead and got off the bus at Swansea. Now, that then means she would have walked from there towards the bowling club. Whether something has happened between the bus stop and the bowling club, we don't know. But we do know there are a number of convicted sex offenders who were not convicted sex offenders at the time, but were at the bowling club and probably leaving about the time she would have been walking past. This does not mean that any of them were involved, but it does place them on the radar. We still have Warren McCorriston, it seems, is the most significant person of interest at present. He was there. He's not a bus driver that I know of, or never has been. So the idea of bus stops being a factor may not be relevant, but I don't think it should be dismissed and still be considered in the investigations, but it may not have the same priority. Now, in regards to this particular incident that Joanne Valeri has reported, I don't want to diminish the fact she was scared and concerned, and maybe it is relevant, but I can also see a quite innocent interpretation of what has happened. So my recollection from the 80s and 90s, and may still be the case, is that Swansea Heads was the end of the run. And it is possible that the bus driver has gotten to the end of his run. He may have been going off shift, and my understanding is the bus drivers, at least back then, would normally turn their lights off to show that they were no longer in service. She says he said he was concerned, or that he didn't want to leave her there, that he had dropped those girls off. As it says there's no evidence that Robin Hickey got on the bus, so maybe she has misheard or misinterpreted, and perhaps it was the bus driver that dropped Amanda off. That may be the case. Either way, in his concern, he didn't want to drop a young girl off in the dark when no one's around, because he's well aware of that experience where the girl disappeared. So maybe he started to drive off and was going to ask, so where were you going? And perhaps he was going to drop her off closer to wherever she was going. That said, yes, it's worthwhile raising and being recorded, and for investigators to consider it, because any information could be relevant, and unless it's reported, they can't check, and it may connect with something else the investigators know. So I can see that it may have just been an innocent situation that in her nervousness and scaredness she's misinterpreted, but yeah, I'll leave it there. If you'd like to see more of my videos, make sure you subscribe and click on the bell to be notified when I upload future videos. Also, please share this video with anyone else you think may be interested in seeing it. I'm David A. Elliott. Have a good one and see you around like a ristle.